So we've seen how we set up the references all for our UI and what it's going to call and what functions they are going to call. So what we need to actually see right now is the network manager. So I'm not going to dive into the details again with the UI and stuff like that. So if you just want to just see how the network manager will work and the lobby, then you won't have to also watch the previous video. So it's good we have them separated. Let's open the network manager, which is over here. No, it's multiplayer. Network manager. Now, a few things we're going to need. Okay, namespaces. The network is this one is going to derive from the network lobby manager, but we want to also add a few more stuff that we want to know. Okay, so that's why we're going to use to create it into into a network manager class. We could have just used the network lobby manager and just use it from there, but it's not something we actually, we want to modify it a bit further. This bool will just, determine if we are the host, which is going to come in handy later on. Right now it's not really useful. We're going to create a new singleton because the network lobby manager already has a singleton, but that singleton is for the actual network lobby manager, and that's not what we want. Okay, when we are calling the singleton, we actually want the network manager, which we are going to create, and that's why I have it single, because there is already a singleton, and as I said, it will just take back into the network manager. So we're just going to use this one. Okay, problem solved. Match settings. The match settings is a class which we are going to use and basically has the information we want and we take from our UI. For example, match name, the match type, the actual map, how many, the maximum players we have, and the status. And you will see what a really cool thing we're going to do with this. So the lobby players is going to store a few informations about every lobby player that is actually, inside our lobby. That's why it's called a lobby player. And a lobby player info, it basically has references inside the lobby. So for example, the lobby player UI, that has the name of the player, and it also has the actual game object for the UI when we create it. So when a player leaves the lobby or loses connection or whatever, okay, we destroy that UI icon. And the lobby player is the lobby player that UNet actually needs, and it also has a few more information about your players, which we'll see in a bit. Okay, we have just a list over here. There's also another list inside the network lobby manager that stores you just the lobby player information. Okay, and that list is lobby slots, and we're going to utilize this also, but we will see what's the differences for that. Now on awake, okay, we just assign the singleton, and then when we initialize a match, this is when we actually press the button to create a match, but not and we are inside the create match menu. We're not yet we haven't yet created the match, and we're not yet in the lobby. This is just the init state. It just creates a new class of our match settings, assigns the name, and basically has all the default values. So this is the default values we're going to have our UI. All the thing you can change and we can change later. It's basically the match name. You can add the username plus the match name and stuff like that. It doesn't matter, since the players can also change this. When we are searching for match, we are starting the matchmaker, and this comes directly from the network lobby manager, and then matchmaker. Okay, and then you can call, the matchmaker has a function that will search for lists. This basically all it means. Start page number, as you can see over here, start page number is basically it's just going to give you lists. Okay, so think of them like you have them categorized. If you have, for example, 40 matches and you start from the 10th match, it says that inside that list you're going to get any entry that is from 10 and upward. So if you want to have multiple pages, or you want to search further down the list for appropriate match, stuff like that, okay, it's not something we're going to worry about, and yeah, it's not something we're going to care for quite a while. So for right now, we're just saying let's get the first 20 matches. Okay, so this is 0 and 20, and of course if we can find the first 20 matches. The next one will be if we have a filter into our match. Okay, I'm basically just reading the intelligence that we go, not the intelligence, what says, well, the information you have. The next, if you want to filter private matches, say true, so you don't get them. Hero score is basically if you want to have levels and stuff like that. Again, not something we care. Request domain, just keep it at 0. And the final one is what we actually care for. It's the delegate that is going to call when the list matches has finished. Okay, it's going to return you a list of match info snapshots, and it's going to be this. And all this, are by default. You need to actually call this for the delegate. You need to have the same signature as the delegate this requires. So you have a bool if it was successful. The extended info, and this is you don't really have to do much with the extended info or anything. And a list of matches. Okay, now for each one of these, what we're going to be calling for, we are going to creating a new match slot. So for example, and this is on the Network Manager UI. For example, let's leave this for later because it has this, and I want you to see where all this comes from. Okay, so for right now, just think of it as something that is going to create you that slot, but there is a little bit of more info you need to learn. But for right now, just think of it as what it creates on your join list match, what creates you the match and sets them up with the different info. Now, when we want to create the match, we start the matchmaker, and here's an issue that comes with UNet. This is the matchmaking. How you call it? The function that creates the match. Okay, this is by default in here. The problem with it is that it only takes these variables, and you cannot actually modify any of this, and you cannot actually modify anything you get back from all of this. Okay, so for example, I want to pass more stuff. I want to pass the match type so that I know when somebody sees it on the lobby. I want to know if the lobby if what match type it is, what map they play, what's the status. I want to pass all that, and I want to have them into my lobby. So if somebody sees this, he knows the type, he knows the map, he knows everything. The same way you've seen it into all AAA games right now. Okay, that's basically what we are after. Well, now it's more simplified, I believe. You're just joining whatever match, so they don't even bother with this anymore. But yeah, I wanted to do something like that. So, well, you can call it a hack if you want. Okay, so basically what I did is I piggyback information into the match name. So when you want to add the player name, if I go into my UI player, which is the UI, create match name, and the input field, I have it as alphanumeric. That means you won't be able to add any special characters, like dots, spaces. I think you might be able to do spaces, I don't remember, and any other special character. So that means I can basically piggyback information, as I said, into my match name and have special characters that will basically break later on or decode, if you want, the match name to get the information we want. For example, I start a string of data. Okay, I have my match name, which is what I want, or what the player might want to have. It doesn't matter, we don't care. We're going to add something. Well, the string doesn't really care if you're going to put something over here. Okay, it's just for our ease of use. So basically I'm saying you add the match name, you add an identifier, which in this case is 2 dots and a T, and then the next thing you add from there is the integer for the match type to a string. So you're going to say game1 dot T dot 0, 1, whatever that is. Next you're going to have the map, so dot m dot and then the string or the integer of the map, and then the status. Okay, again you can add the status or the integer for the status. If you go with integers, then you're going to have fewer characters passing through the network, but this isn't on game. We're not inside the game. We don't really much care about lag. Okay, it's not necessary that, because it will also pass the information only once. So if you want to just turn them into integer and then create them back into, with switch statements and stuff like that, to create them back into actual strings and names, okay, it's entirely up to you. But anyway, the important thing to know is that in our match name we're going to be passing all this information, which when the clients receive it, we're basically going to split the match name into three or four different parts. Okay, and then we're going to create that and output it as information into our lobby matches. Okay, we piggyback all the information we want, and then we create the match with the matchmaker. We pass the match name. The second one is the match size, which is an unassigned integer. Okay, which means there's no negatives, so it's only positive numbers, of course. We don't have to pass that into our maximal players into the current match. Okay, the UNet has already a function for that, so we're basically passing the maximum players. Match advertise, it means it's not a private match, so you're going to actually see it into the lobby, so we say true. No password, public client address, doesn't matter. Okay, everything else should be the same. Okay, if you want to do more stuff like that, you can read the documentation, but we won't care about any of this. And the final one, of course, is the match created, the delegate, which we're going to call for. The match created is going to come down here, and you have success if it was successful, the extended info, which we don't care, and the match info. So if you successfully created the match, then you open up the lobby menu, you open up a port for your network server to add. Okay, the values over here don't matter. There is some that you shouldn't go below, and there is some that you shouldn't go above. Okay, because usually depending on the target platform and stuff like that, just put the same number over here and you'll be done. This is exactly the same number, it's on the documentation also, so doesn't care. And then you are starting the host, but this time you also need to pass the match info, okay, because we are using matchmaking. Okay, and then we say host is true, and we're going to see it later. Okay, so this is how we create a match. So the new match is going to be created. It's going to have all that information packed into the name. And now let's go and see the add match slot. and let me open this. But basically, yeah, this is the read data, which is also called from the match slot. And what it does, okay, it takes the name, the full name, and it has a reference strings that is going to output what it finds. So for example, you're passing the name. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to split that part of the name, everything below this identifier, okay, is going to be your name. Then we're going to split it again to this identifier, and everything again below or to the left of this identifier is going to be the type, the map name, and the actual status. Okay, it's very simple. The only catch is that your user cannot have anything else than alphanumeric on their game name. Okay, so that means no underscores, no stuff like that. But anyway, it's not really that much of a problem. This is the most effortless way to do this. Of course, you can serialize it with JSON and other stuff, but yeah, if this works, it's the easiest way, so we're going to do it this way. Pretty simple. Okay, we have this stuff which basically translate integers to string, which we'll see in a bit, but let's go to the add match slot because we might get confused if we don't. And I'm actually going to open this. Okay, so you're basically passing the match info snapshot. You're going to create a new game object, which is the match UI prefab. We're going to set it, we're going to parent it under our match list grid. We have our matches UI, which is over here, and then here's the 4 strings which we're going to see and update with the read data. Okay, so we are referencing these strings: match name, match type, the match map, and the match status. The status right now will always be in lobby, so it doesn't matter. And okay, so we're getting back we're populating all these variables, so the only thing left to do is basically update into our matches UI, update the variables we want. So for example, we have match name, match type. We're basically passing them into the text element, and then we're adding it into our matches slot so that we know when we select something, or if we want to delete or refresh and stuff like that, we're going to get new matches. Okay, very simple. Add lobby player UI. It's going to do the same. Creates a lobby player, just creates the lobby player, puts them under the lobby player grid, finds the lobby player UI, it initializes, so it means just changes the name, and it just adds them into a lobby player UI list. Okay, we've seen all the other stuff into the we've seen everything else into the previous video, so let's go back into the network manager. So we've pretty much seen everything you need to know for the matchmaking and what I did to pass all this data: create match, and return data. The other thing you need to also see is basically when you try and join a match, and all it does, you have your match info snapshot, you have your match name, you have the match size, and you are calling the function for the matchmaker to join the match. We have the match info snapshot is stored inside the you have your network ID. It's not stored somewhere. You join the match and you call the network ID from the match info snapshot. The other stuff is basically if there is a password, okay, client address, private client address, and all stuff like that. We don't care. We only care about the delegate, which is match joined. If it was successful, then you are starting a client match info. You open your lobby menu. You are not the host. Throw a debug log. You have joined the match, or you joined the match. Okay. These are the stuff you need to actually do to start having to basically join a match. Let's see the other stuff though. The other I'm going to open this so I know where I was. The other stuff I have, because it's tailored to work with my third-person shooter, of course. Now, read data and string to match type. It's basically, yeah, it just tries and parse, which we use this inside read data. And we actually, yeah, it's over here. Okay, it's going to try and parse the string you are passing into an integer, and it's going to output this from the match type directly. Okay, really simple. The next one is integer to map name. You're passing the match type just in case you have different lists for because there's no really some games don't have the same deathmatch maps. Won't be the same as the team deathmatch. You might have team deathmatch with goals, capture the flag, stuff like that. Okay, so this is basically the setup if you want to modify it later. Otherwise, you can see that it's just a switch statement. You could have just added something else. It doesn't really matter. You can just the way it is right now. Okay, later on we're going to get them from the correct list depending on match type, stuff like that. Anyway, it just outputs level 1 or level 2 in this case for the deathmatch, so it doesn't really even utilizes this. Okay, so yeah, doesn't matter as I said. So integer to status, it basically says if the status is 0, you are in lobby, otherwise you are in game. You're most likely going to have these two statuses, so this will work later. And okay, in lobby or in game. Integer to match type, we've seen this. It just makes this into a match type. Integer to max players, again, we've seen this. 4, 8 or 10. If you want to have different numbers, you're going to have it. For example, if we do haste, stuff like that, or goal-oriented multiplayer matches, you are not going to output 10 players. Well, you can, but you probably want to have something in the range of 2 or 4. You know, think of it like Payday, for example. Okay, it only has 4 maximum players. It's 4. And if they aren't players, they will actually be bots and AI and stuff like that. Anyway, okay, back to multiplayer menu. Of course, this is the back, which is stop host, stop client. It might actually, we need, okay, stop matchmaker. You're just going back to your multiplayer menu, which basically disconnects you from everything. On client disconnect, we don't want anything. We don't have anything right now, so we can delete it if you don't want to. We might create some stuff later. When you want, when a lobby player is added automatically from the UNet, it's going to come in here and it's going to call add lobby player. It's going to create a new instance of a lobby player info. Okay, and it's basically going to populate the lobby player so we can find who is who, but just using the network ID in here. Then we're changing his UI icon. We're basically adding a lobby player UI, which passes the name, and then we have we initialize it over here, change the name inside the lobby, and we add him into the correct list. On server disconnect, if you lose, if somebody gets out or loses the connection with the server, it's going to run a coroutine. The trick in here is that this on server disconnect takes a couple of frames to work, a couple of seconds, to actually know that a player has actually disconnected, and that is because, as you can guess, well, I'm going to guess, I cannot know for sure, okay, that it's going to try and ping them and see if he gets a response, and then if he doesn't inside a smaller time frame, it's going to time him out, so he kicks the player. So the trick for us to know that we remove and we want to remove a lobby player is that we're going to actually wait a second. So for example, we'll call a coroutine, it's going to wait 1 second, and we're going to have something if we have a candidate to remove, and we're going to check for each of these lobby players we have, okay, inside our lobby player list, which we save upon. If somebody doesn't have a lobby player assigned, lobby players is lobby players info class, and lobby player is UNet's own lobby player. Okay, so for example, when somebody disconnects, it basically says that UNet basically destroys UNet's own lobby player class, which also automatically creates. So the simplest way to know that somebody has gone kicked, okay, or doesn't exist anymore, is that we check, we have stored them, the information, in our own class, and then we're going to check if it's destroyed. If it's destroyed, then that means UNet got rid of that player, so that means we are also free to destroy the UI icon we already have, and we're also free to remove him from our list. Okay, and we're going to do a contains remove, and this actually should not need a break because we are checking for all our players if we have deleted them. Okay, we don't need only specific. Every time somebody goes, we can just check if everybody went away. So we're going to just leave it at that. Get lobby player, we're basically passing the network ID, or we can call it player ID, it doesn't matter, and we can see it's basically going to check if your lobby player, your network ID, the network ID value is the same the one you're passing, then it's going to return you that player. Otherwise, it's going to return you null. Okay, so this is it. Match settings, we have yet to see something else also. Match type, match, max player, deathmatch. Okay, we've seen all this. Now we need to also see what goes inside the lobby player. And the lobby player is assigned, if you don't remember from the previous video, is assigned in here. Not in here. We assign it into multiplayer, lobby player, network identity, and lobby player. Okay, so lobby player, it takes from UNet's own network lobby player, just a default name, we don't care. On client ender lobby, what we're going to do is, okay, we're calling the base class, and we want to basically say on the network manager, we're going to go over here and say add lobby player. Okay, we've just seen this. It basically creates a new entry into the list of where we custom save our lobby players. And then just for right now, I'm basically giving the player name, I'm giving them a random name, just so that I know that they sync, because I'm running it on the same PC, so that means both of my players will both have the same name. Okay, later on we're going to make it to take the username you have saved into your main menu. Okay, that means from the session manager, but I want this to work without having any reference to what we have done before in the third person shooter beta. So that means no references to the session manager, so you can follow this along for any type of game you want to use UNet for your multiplayer needs. Okay, so right now we just want to see that it actually syncs the players, and we're going to just assign a random name, and we're going to do it like this. Okay, so we're starting a coroutine. Again, the trick is to wait a few seconds. We do a delay, and we're going to broadcast the player names, but we're actually going to broadcast all the player names, not just this player. So we also get any other player that was before us inside the lobby. We're also going to get his name. Okay, then for each lobby player we have, okay, inside our lobby players info, inside our network manager lobby players, we do a command, broadcast player name, and we basically just get the network ID, or basically we just need his network ID for each lobby player, and all it's going to do is going to get that lobby player, and if he's not null, then it's going to, on the clients, it's going to do an RPC and basically going to tell you that the player with this network ID has this name. So all it does, you need to just go on your network manager, use get lobby player, player ID, pass the name, and then initialize the icon. Okay, so this was it. It's really effortless, to be honest. It's really easy if you get a few basic ideas of how you are supposed to work with UNet. Okay, especially well, the problem with these libraries is that if you try to modify or do something else that it wasn't really meant for, then you're going to have problems. If you are doing what it was supposed to do, then you are pretty much set. Okay, yeah, so this is it. Most of the stuff you won't need them, but because this is also video for the third person shooter, which I already have, okay, I want them to be a more complete case. So basically the basic ideas is, if I was to write this again from scratch, okay, I didn't have any or didn't care about anything about in the UI, all I will have done is start matchmaker, create match, and when I want to join, and then after you have created the match, of course, you need to run this match created, your delegate, okay, network server listen, start host. That's it. You started a server with UNet matchmaker. Okay, and when you want to join, you're going to try and join the match info snapshot. You're doing it over here. Okay, you should update also the match name and match size, the current size, and you should also update the matchmaker join match and your delegate. And if you are successful, you're basically starting a client, and that's it. You have just joined a match. Okay, so it's basically 5 or around 10 lines of code if you want to use matchmaking, but the trick is you also have to connect all the other stuff. And as I said, if you want to create your own lobby menus and, you know, basically have anything else that isn't basically just playing multiplayer match just for the sake of multiplayer match. Okay, and yeah, that's it. Okay, it's not that hard, it's not that difficult. Okay, if it's UNet something you want to use in your game, or the actual network libraries you want to use, then they are really easy to use for. Keep in mind, of course, there are some limitations, especially in the free. You basically have only 20 concurrent users, which that means at no time any more than 20 users yeah, are going to play your game online. Okay, depending on your game, that might be enough, that might not be enough at all. As I said, if your game is heavily depending on multiplayer, so that means if it's an MMO or something else, you probably need to look into your own custom network libraries. Okay, so I'm going to end the video here. You know what to do. Like, subscribe. We have a lot more coming about multiplayer, but well, they need a lot more time to develop, of course. Okay, and the next step from here is to actually go into a game and sync everything else we have into our third person shooter and actually make them yeah, we'll actually play multiplayer and stuff like that. So Yeah, as I said, like, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, want to see it continue, want to support me, then feel free to do so either on Patreon, which you also get additional rewards based on the tier you're pledging. Okay, and that ranges from watching, of course, the videos much earlier. Okay, and you also get access to a Google folder with all the scripts. You also get discount codes for Gumroad projects, and depending on the tier you are, you also get bigger discount, even free projects further down the line. And of course the other way is by grabbing a project or two from Gumroad, which will also help you to start your next game without having to, start entirely from scratch. So I'll see you next time.